David strolled into a small bar on a dirt road in the American countryside, his deep blue eyes shining with exhaustion. He had just had a stressful week of endless meetings in the city, where skyscrapers and honking horns seemed to suffocate his soul. A successful 27-year-old businessman, David was tall and had brown hair cut neatly in an urban style, but deep inside, he longed for a place to escape the pressure, even if only for a few hours. This short business trip was a chance for him to find peace, and the small bar, with its dim yellow lights pouring in from the windows, seemed like a promising invitation. Inside, the cozy space embraced him like a gentle hug. Rustic wooden tables, a few locals chatting, and soft country music from an old radio in the corner of the bar made him feel comfortable. David sat at a table near the window and ordered a glass of red wine. As he took his first sip, he felt the rich flavor spread as if soothing the tension in his heart. Through the window, he watched the golden wheat fields stretching out under the fading afternoon sunlight, the sky turning a brilliant orange. This idyllic scene made him sigh with relief, as if all the worries about work, numbers, and contracts had disappeared. Then Emily appeared. She walked into the shop with a gentle appearance, her golden hair naturally loose, her big brown eyes shining with charm. The simple floral dress hugged her slim body, exuding the rustic beauty of a country girl. David couldn't take his eyes off her. Something about Emily made his heart beat strangely, an inexplicable feeling of closeness, as if they had known each other for a long time in some forgotten memory. Emily, a local girl, grew up among the fields and the sound of roosters crowing every morning. Her life was simple, working on a small farm and helping her mother at the grocery store, but her heart was always burning with a desire to be loved. She was used to being alone but had never met anyone who made her heart flutter. Until her eyes met David's, she walked up to the bar and ordered a glass of juice but couldn't help but glance at him. David smiled slightly when he caught her eye, and an invisible spark lit up between them. After a few moments of hesitation, David stood up and approached Emily. "Hello, I'm David. I'm from the city, and I'm on a business trip. Are you local?" he began, his voice warm and friendly. "Yes, I'm Emily. I've lived here since I was a child." "What are you doing here?" she replied, a bright smile lighting her face. They began to chat, from casual questions about the weather to deeper sharing about life. David talked about work, the pressures, and pride mixed with fatigue. Emily listened, her brown eyes sparkling with curiosity, and then she told of the fresh mornings in the countryside, the nights of watching the stars. The more they talked, the more drawn to each other. David was fascinated by Emily's sincerity, and Emily admired David's confidence and success. After a few glasses of wine, the atmosphere between them became intimate. David took Emily's hand, pulling her onto the shop's terrace. The rural night sky appeared before their eyes, full of twinkling stars on the vast black background, the gentle wind carrying the scent of grass and moist soil. "In the city I never see the sky this beautiful," David said, his eyes not leaving Emily. "Here we have many beautiful things that the city doesn't have," she replied, her voice proud. They stood close to each other, the warmth radiating from each other. David turned, looked deep into Emily's eyes, then gently kissed her lips. Emily responded, their hearts beating in unison in the quiet night. That night, they returned to Emily's small wooden house together. The house was simple, with rustic wooden walls and a crackling fireplace, but it was warm. They clung to each other, forgetting all the distances of geography or circumstances, leaving only genuine emotions. David felt the peace he had been searching for all this time, and Emily felt her heart open for the first time. The following day, the early sunlight filtered through the wooden door, waking David up. He lay there, looking at Emily, sleeping soundly, but his heart was in turmoil. Work in the city was waiting, he couldn't stay. But deep in his heart he felt a strange pull. Ultimately he told himself that this was just a passing encounter, a beautiful memory. He quietly dressed, leaving a note on the table. "Thank you for last night. I won't forget." Then he walked out of the house, got in his car, and left, leaving no contact information. Emily woke up, discovering that David was gone. She read the note, her heart heavy with sadness. She didn't regret the night before, but his sudden departure left a void that was hard to fill. She told herself that maybe they weren't meant to be together, but the memory of David's eyes and his hug would always remain. 2 months later, Emily found out she was pregnant. At first, she was shocked, but then a wave of happiness crept into her heart. She decided to keep the baby, even though she knew how difficult it would be to be a single mother. She did not try to contact David because she knew nothing about him besides his name. In the middle of a golden wheat field, Emily put her hand on her belly and smiled. She promised herself to be strong, to raise her child well, and one day, to tell him about the father she met that fateful night under the stars. After a significant life change, Emily embarks on a new journey when she discovers she is pregnant. Alone in the rural suburbs of America, she gives birth to a healthy baby girl named Lily. To raise her child, Emily works tirelessly on her family's small farm, where she takes care of vegetables and chickens and works part-time at the local grocery store. Her life is simple but full of determination. Every day, Emily wakes up early, prepares breakfast for Lily, takes her child to school, and then rushes to work. Her hands are calloused from hard work, but Lily's smile when she returns home is the most significant source of encouragement to help her overcome difficulties. Lily grew up under her mother's love and her small community's care. By the time she reached her teenage years, she had become a beautiful, intelligent, and strong young woman. Lily's golden hair is naturally loose, and her brown eyes sparkle with intelligence, bearing many similarities to David, the father she has never known. Emily chooses not to reveal the truth about David, only telling her that her father was a good man who left them long ago. Although Lily is often curious and asks questions about her father, Emily constantly skillfully changes the subject, not wanting her child to grow up with the pain of an absent father. Instead, she teaches Lily about independence, kindness, and the value of work. Lily is good at studying and often helps her mother with work on the farm, showing a strong and responsible spirit. Being a single mother has never been easy for Emily. She faces countless difficulties, hard-working days, lonely nights when Lily is fast asleep, and even weak moments when she remembers David, the man who left her with a beautiful memory and a great responsibility. Sometimes, sitting by the fire, Emily's tears fell silently as she wondered if David ever thought of her. But then, she wiped them away, telling herself to be strong for her daughter. Her unconditional love for Lily was the driving force that helped Emily overcome everything. Although Lily was curious about her father, she still respected her mother's silence. One afternoon on the porch, watching the sunset, Lily asked, "Mommy, who is my real daddy?" Emily held her daughter's hand, her voice choked up as she replied, "Your father was a good man, but he had to leave us. I don't want you to be sad about that." Lily was silent, but in her heart she knew her mother's love was enough to compensate for all the shortcomings. Mother and daughter's life took place in a rustic wooden house in the middle of a wheat field, where the sound of roosters crowing every morning and Lily's laughter made the home warmer. Despite the absence of a father, Emily devoted her heart to raising Lily into a strong, worldly young woman. After 18 years away, David, now 45, decides to return to the American countryside, which used to be a peaceful haven in his memories. The seemingly successful urban life with a big company, lavish parties, and a brilliant career cannot bring him the happiness he craves. Instead, he feels empty, lost in superficial relationships, and surrounded by loneliness. One morning, when he wakes up in his luxurious but cold apartment in the city, David looks out the window, his heart heavy. He suddenly remembers that countryside where he had a fateful night with Emily, and once felt vitality and peace. The decision to leave everything behind and return is not easy, but he knows he needs it to find himself again. David arrives on an autumn afternoon when the pale sunlight stretches across the dirt road covered with fallen yellow leaves. His breathing slowed as he pulled to the side of the road, opened the door, and took a deep breath of the scent of grass and damp earth, a familiar smell that took him back 18 years. The endless golden wheat fields, the small wooden house standing silently on the hillside, and the old pub where he had sat with Emily were still there, like pieces of time that had never been disturbed. He closed his eyes, letting the cool breeze caress his face, and at that moment, Emily's image appeared clearly, her golden hair, charming smile, and lively eyes. David wondered what she was doing now, but then he shook his head, telling himself that the past was a distant dream. He began to walk, his shoes lightly tapping the soft dirt road. The countryside surrounded him like a gentle embrace, reviving emotions he thought he had buried. He walked through a field of wildflowers, where yellow and purple flowers swayed in the wind, and memories of that fateful night 18 years ago flooded back. He remembered Emily's unmistakable voice, the way she talked about her simple dreams and the moment they held hands under the starry sky. But that memory was now a vague regret because he had left this place to pursue his ambition and then lost the most precious thing. Suddenly, David saw a young woman picking flowers in the middle of the flower field. She had loose blonde hair, brown eyes sparkling with light, and a simple white dress that accentuated her natural, pure beauty. He stood still, unable to take his eyes off her. Something about her made his heart flutter, a familiar feeling like he had met her in a distant dream. She raised her head, met his eyes, and smiled as bright as the sunlight through the leaves. David approached, introducing himself with some hesitation, and she responded with the name, Lily, in a clear, warm voice. They began to talk, and David was quickly captivated by Lily's confidence and intelligence. She told him about life in the countryside, the fresh mornings with dew on the leaves, the nights sitting on the porch watching the stars. David shared about the city, busy days, and lonely nights, but a strange feeling gradually grew. He felt close to Lily, as if she were a part of him he had never known. Little did he know that she was his daughter, the result of that fateful night with Emily 18 years ago. Romance blossomed in the countryside. In the days that followed, David and Lily explored the countryside together. They walked along winding paths where the rustling of leaves mingled with the chirping of birds. They passed through small forests where the sunlight filtered through the trees, creating shimmering streaks of light on the ground. Every moment with Lily made David feel like he was reborn, like he had found a cure for his tired soul. He looked at her, sometimes thinking he was dreaming, because her presence brought him a joy he had not felt for a long time. One afternoon they sat by the stream, where the clear water flowed over smooth rocks. David looked at Lily and said, "It is so peaceful here. I came here 18 years ago, and now that I am back, I feel like I have missed so many beautiful things." Lily smiled softly and replied, "I love this place. My mother said this place is full of memories but didn't tell me much." Her words made David curious, but he didn't ask any more. He just wanted to enjoy this moment with the young girl who made him feel his heart warm again. The feelings between them gradually blossomed, but it was strange, a mixture of deep connection and nameless emotions. David thought he was drawn to Lily's youthful innocence, but deep down, it was a father's love for his daughter that he had not yet recognized. With the innocence of her 18 years, Lily felt comfortable and happy with David, as if he were a soul mate she had accidentally found. One night they sat by a crackling fire, the bright orange light falling on Lily's face, highlighting her sparkling eyes. David told her about his adventures, the cities he had been to, the people he had met. Lily listened, her eyes wide with admiration. "I wish I could travel like you, but I love this place too," she said. David smiled, stroking her hair, and said, "You're young, you'll have your chance. I'll take you if you want." Lily smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. At that moment, David does not know that this encounter is fate, that Lily is not just a girl he meets by chance, but a part of his flesh and blood. He did not expect that after 18 years, this countryside would bring him peace and help him find what he had accidentally lost. The countryside, with its flower fields, dirt roads, and bonfires, became a bridge between the present and the past, between David and the memories of Emily, and between him and the daughter he had never known. With each passing day, David felt the stirring in his heart more clearly, but he could not define it. He remembered Emily, and what they had, and sometimes wondered if his life would be different if he had not left this place. As for Lily, with her innocence and purity, she enjoyed the days with David without doubting that this man was her father. They are bound together by an invisible thread woven from the past, destiny, and this rural land full of memories. The days in the countryside brought David a rare sense of peace, something he had never experienced in the hustle and bustle of urban life. Every morning, when the first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains, illuminating the simple wooden room, he woke up with a light heart. He stepped onto the porch, breathed in the fresh air, gazed at the endless fields, and felt a deep stillness. But what moved his heart was not simply the scenery. It was Lily, the young girl with an unmistakable smile and a warm presence who had quietly crept into his life. David could not explain why he felt so close to Lily. He had met many women and had gone through fleeting relationships, but no one had given him the feeling of naturalness and familiarity like her. He loved the way she smiled, a gentle and radiant smile, like the sunlight in the middle of a field. He was fascinated by how she talked about the little things in life with enthusiasm and innocence, as if everything was worth cherishing. When he was with Lily, David felt like time slowed down. He was no longer the man tired of the pressures of urban life but became a youthful, carefree version of himself, as if she had awakened the days of youth that he thought he had forgotten. Warmth from connection. The relationship between David and Lily grew more profound through the simple activities they experienced together. One morning by the stream, when he taught her how to hold a fishing rod and bait, his heart fluttered as she cheered after catching her first fish. Lily's laughter echoed in the space, mixed with the sound of running water and birds chirping, creating a song that he wanted to listen to forever. Seeing her blush and bow her head shyly after his compliment, "You're great," David felt a warmth spread in his chest. It was not just the joy of the moment, but the sense of something greater growing inside him. Evenings by the fire, under the stars, were when he felt the connection most clearly. When David told Lily about constellations and myths, he saw her eyes light up with delight. "You know so much," she said, her voice filled with admiration. The words made him smile, but deep down, he knew he was drawn to her. The moment he unconsciously reached out to stroke her hair, feeling the soft strands slip through his fingertips, David realized that his feelings were no longer mere fondness. It was a love that was a mixture of affection, protectiveness, and a connection he had never experienced. One afternoon in the small kitchen, as Lily stood by the fire chopping vegetables and singing softly, David could not take his eyes off her. The warmth of the fire and her presence made him feel at home, a real home, not one of the cold apartments he'd lived in. "You're a good cook," he said, and when she replied that her mother had taught her to take care of the family, David fantasized about a future with Lily. He saw a cozy little family in his mind where he wouldn't have to face loneliness. The thought made him happy but also made his heart beat faster with a feeling he couldn't name. However, not everything in David's heart was sure. There were moments when he felt a vague familiarity that he couldn't explain. One day, David was startled when Lily talked about her mother, the strong woman who raised her alone, and mentioned her birthday on May 15th. He felt he had heard a similar story somewhere before, but he quickly dismissed the thought. He told himself it was just a coincidence, not wanting trivial thoughts to destroy his happiness. But one night, while lying in bed, the image of Emily, the woman he had met 18 years ago, suddenly appeared. He remembered her warmth on that fateful night, and unease crept into his heart. Why did he think of Emily when Lily was beside him? He blamed himself, hugging the pillow tightly to dispel those thoughts. He didn't want the past to blur the present, didn't want to doubt the happiness he was holding. Yet, deep down, a part of him still felt like something was missing, like a missing piece that he couldn't see. After a few weeks with Lily, David realized she had become indispensable to his life. He began to think about bringing her to the city, introducing her to his family and friends as a declaration of his love. He believed Lily was his true love, the woman he wanted to be with for the long term. Sitting next to her on the porch watching the sunset one evening, he held her hand and expressed his wish. "Lily, I want you to come with me to the city. I want us to have a future together." Those words weren't just a request but a commitment from his heart. David felt anxious when Lily hesitated, expressing confusion because she had never been far from the countryside. But when she smiled and nodded in agreement, he felt a weight lifted off his shoulders. Happiness flooded him like a warm wave that swept through every corner of his soul. He squeezed her hand tightly, feeling the warmth from her tiny hand, and believed he had found the missing piece in his life. However, beneath that happiness, a vague feeling of insecurity still lingered. He wondered if he was rushing too much, if Lily was really who he thought she was. Those questions passed like clouds, but he quickly dismissed them. He loved Lily, that was the most certain thing he had. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and smiled, believing everything would be fine. Little did he know that this decision was not only a turning point in love, but also the beginning of a painful truth that awaited him in the future. David walked into that fateful evening with a mixture of joy and nervousness. He had prepared to bring Lily, the woman he loved, to his home in the city, seeing it as a big step forward in their relationship. The elaborately decorated dining table, the flickering candles, and the laughter of his family made him feel proud. He wanted everyone to see Lily through his eyes, an intelligent, gentle, and loving girl. But when Emily appeared at the door, everything changed in an instant. Even after 18 years, her face still evoked memories of a night in the countryside that he had tried to forget. He recognized her immediately, and his heart pounded with confusion. The confusion quickly turned to horror when Emily told him the truth. Lily was their daughter. David felt as if he were being sucked into an endless void. He stood there, his mind blank, unable to speak. The fragments of his memories slowly came together: the night with Emily, his departure without a word, and now, the girl he loved was his flesh and blood. He felt suffocated, as if someone had just delivered a heavy blow to his chest. Regret welled up as he thought about the years Emily had spent raising her alone, while he had lived his own life without any responsibility. Worse still, he had accidentally fallen in love with his daughter, a mistake he had never imagined. Seeing Lily trembling and tears streaming down her face, David felt his heart shatter. He wanted to run to her, to explain that he had not known anything, but he was frozen in guilt. After dinner, when everyone had left, he sat alone in his room, his mind reeling. He blamed himself for his selfishness, for letting his ambition and carelessness overshadow his duty as a father. The happy moments with Lily now became unbearable pain. He knew he had to face the consequences, but the helplessness made him want to run away, even though he knew that was no longer an option. Emily arrived at David's house with mixed feelings. She had been invited to meet his new girlfriend, but was unprepared for what would happen. When she entered the room and saw David, memories of that night 18 years ago came flooding back. He was the man she had loved briefly, who had left her with a precious gift, Lily, and then disappeared without a trace. But when she saw Lily standing beside David, hand in hand, a happy smile on her daughter's face, Emily's heart stopped. She realized the terrible truth: her daughter was in love with her father without even knowing it. The shock left her speechless for a moment, only looking at David with eyes full of pain and confusion. But she quickly regained her composure, deciding that this secret could not continue. With a trembling but firm voice she said, "David, do you remember me? I am Emily, and Lily is our daughter." Those words were like a knife cutting through the air, shaking the room. When she saw David stunned and Lily burst into tears, Emily felt her anger flare up. She was angry at him for abandoning her, leaving her to bear the hardships alone for 18 years. She wanted to scream, to vent all those years of loneliness and resentment on him. But when she looked into David's eyes, she saw sincere regret. The anger gradually gave way to sadness and a little sympathy. She understood that he did not mean to hurt them, and now, he was suffering just like her and Lily. After dinner, Emily sat alone on the porch, watching the night sky. She felt exhausted but realized all three were victims of an unwanted tragedy. She wondered if she could forgive David and if Lily could get over the shock. Despite her heartache, she knew she had to be strong for her daughter, and that the truth, however cruel, was something they had to face together. Lily walked into the evening with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She wanted David's family to love her and prove she was worthy of him. But when her mother, Emily, appeared, she sensed a strange tension in the air. She saw David and her mother's eyes meet but didn't understand what was happening. Then, when Emily revealed that David was her father, Lily's world crashed. She couldn't believe her ears. The man she loved so deeply, the man she had dreamed of a beautiful future with, was her biological father. She felt betrayed, hurt, and confused to the point of wanting to scream. Tears welled up in her eyes, and Lily ran out of the room, unable to bear it any longer. She felt like a fool, cruelly toyed with by fate. She was angry at her mother for hiding the truth from her, and at David for coming into her life and breaking her heart. But deep down, she knew they didn't mean it. After days of internal struggle, she began to see things more clearly. David didn't think she was his daughter. Her mother only wanted to protect her. Even though her romantic relationship with David couldn't continue, she still felt a special connection to him, not as a lover, but as a father. One afternoon by the lake, Lily confronted David. With a choked voice, she said, "I can't love you like I used to, but I can't hate you either. You're my father, and I need time to accept that." Those words brought tears to David's eyes, and Lily knew that, despite the pain ahead, they would find a way to heal together. If you love the interesting and meaningful content we bring, please subscribe to our channel today so you don't miss any videos. You will always receive notifications about new stories, valuable lessons, and inspiring moments by subscribing. Become a part of our community, where you can discover, share, and connect over the best things. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to update all the hot content. Thank you for always supporting and accompanying our channel.